Hello everyone and good evening. My name's Don Arleth and welcome to News in Depth, the show where we dig deeper into the day's stories and events. I'm now joined by Michał Broniatowski, but first let's go ahead and introduce some of the topics that we will be covering. Ukraine needs money and it needs lots of it to continue to the defense against the Russian invasion. With U.S. disengagement, the matter is firmly in the hands of Europeans. Therefore, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has urged EU leaders to swiftly agree on funding Ukraine's needs for the next 2 years. In a letter to the 27 member states, she warned that Ukraine will require 135.7 billion euros in the years 2026 and 2027, with a decision expected at the December European Council summit. Now, meanwhile, Poland reopened 2 border crossings with Belarus on Monday, citing economic concerns. Officials said the move was possible because Poland's eastern frontier is now secured like never before, following the construction of a border wall amid tensions with Belarus's Moscow-aligned government. And now, joining me here on News in Depth is TVP World's Editor-in-Chief, Michał Broniatowski. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today to explore these issues. So we start off, Ukraine needs a substantial amount of money to fund the government and the defense of the nation over the next 2 years. The EU doesn't want to exactly foot the bill, but it would rather loan the money instead. Why is this proving to be so difficult?
You know, it's very difficult to ask member states of the European Union to just from day to night pay these amount of money. Especially, it's difficult with those who are located a bit further from the border. They don't feel the heat of the war, and you know, EU is trying to arrange this, or proposing to arrange this money in the same way as they did in the case of this COVID fund, to which everybody agreed, and it was debt guaranteed by all the 27 states. This time it would be very difficult, especially the financial situation of particular states changed to the worse.
Right.
And as I said, some of them are too far to be concerned. So.
But at the end of the day, is there a little bit of money involved in it? I mean, if we're loaning money, you would imagine that people stand to make money on these loans.
Well, these loans would be zero principal, so zero coupon on these bonds, right? So you don't make money on this loan. The problem is guarantees. The problem is what happens if the loan is not paid back, because the idea is that this loan is paid back by Russian future reparations. Nobody should expect these reparations to take place.
Yeah, that would.
So this is, wishful thinking. So yes, we need to create these guarantees and create them at the level of the European Union. Brussels should be responsible for that. The current regulations, the financial regulations in Europe, make it impossible for Brussels to guarantee to the European Commission to guarantee loans for third parties, which is countries from outside European Union. That's why a special amount of money, which is always on the account to guarantee whatever financing the EU needs, this time is not usable. This is called headroom. This is
right, and for our viewers, let's go through this, and let's actually start with Ursula von der Leyen and what she said about this whole situation. Let's take a look.
I very much welcome the European Council's very clear commitment in the last meeting to cover Ukraine's financial needs for the next 2 years, 2026, 2027. This is the reason why we are now working very closely with Belgium and all the member states on options, how to deliver on this commitment. It's clear we will deliver and we will cover the financial needs of Ukraine for the next 2 years. The discussion is now on the how. And there are three options. Option one is to use the budget's headroom to raise money on the capital markets. Option two is to have an intergovernmental agreement that member states raise the necessary capital by themselves. And option three is to have a reparations loan. This is based on immobilized Russian asset. So this would mean take the cash balances from the immobilized Russian assets, hand them as a loan to Ukraine, and Ukraine has to pay back this loan if Russia pays back reparations. This is the most effective way to sustain Ukraine's defense and its economy, and it's the clearest way to make Russia understand that time is not on their side.
What does this mean to use the budget's headroom, as you just mentioned, to raise money on the capital market?
Well, there is a certain amount of money which the European Commission can collect from the states, which are usual obligations of every member state, depending on its proportion of its general that's gross domestic income, gross national income, in reference to the whole European Union income. And this is a given amount, and there's always a difference between this amount and actual requirements of the EU for financing, and this difference is called margin or headroom. So in this difficult, strange speech of Brussels. So this headroom, as I said, can only be used for EU financing, and cannot be used under the rules of the current 7 years budget for financing of things like these loans for Ukraine. So it may happen when Brussels discusses and passes finally the next 7-year budget, which starts in 2028. But in the meantime, it must be the governments of, even parliaments in some cases, of 27 countries to agree to make guarantees, especially for Belgium, which holds the largest part of this immobilized Russian funds, 140 billion euros of a estimated total of 210 billion euros. So all these countries will have to make an unconditional guarantee to those who are releasing these funds for the loan that they will pay back in case there is a legitimate demand on the part of Russian government or Russian investors. So we are talking about 2 years, in fact, because probably when the new budget, EU budget is passed, they will the rules for this budget will allow.
Right, but in the meantime,
there must be a collective decision of the European Union. Apparently, in general, the European Council, which is representatives of 27 states, agreed to guarantee this money, but these guarantees so far have not been enough for Belgium, which is the most exposed place, and it's a highly political issue. But it seems today the von der Leyen published a very, very detailed outline of how do we get to how can Union can get to this loan based on Russian assets. Very open letter, 9 pages, very detailed explanations, and it's talking about absolute, this unconditional and immediate payment guarantees for Belgium. please note that it is just 2 days after she met with the Prime Minister of Belgium, De Wert. So it looks like we are getting close to a solution, really.
Since we have to have unanimous agreement on many issues, right, when it comes to such large sums of money, is it possible that we'll see intergovernmental agreements, as was mentioned by Ursula von der Leyen, that say, and I wouldn't expect every member state to sign up, right? We have those, as you mentioned at the very beginning, that further they are away from the conflict, the less they're willing to contribute, as well as we have countries like Hungary, Slovakia, and now, to some extent, this Czech Republic. So is it possible there could be a coalition of the willing that could guarantee this 127 billion?
This has to be done according to rules, has to be done unanimously. The thing is that states don't have to pay this money. This is just a guarantee. So even if there is a claim from Russia, to make this claim possibly legally binding, it will take years. By that time, there will be already this European Union's headroom guarantees in place. So this is purely political decision, not financial.
Okay, well, before we move on to other topics here, I'd like to ask you about this huge corruption scandal that broke last week and what influence, if any, it'll have on this whole process of trying to fund Ukraine, their legitimate budgetary and defense needs for the years 26 and 27.
It's a serious problem, PR problem, credibility problem for President Zelensky, because this scandal hit very close to himself. His closest partner, Timur Mindic, is directly involved, and he fled the country. So, but on the other hand, Zelensky reacted to all this event very openly. He dismissed the most implicated ministers, and it also shows that institutions that Ukraine agreed to create this so-called NABU, which is anti-huge corruption organization, which is independent from politicians, is capable of introducing, not only discovering but also moving towards punishing the culprits, and it shows that this state works. Right. Nowhere in the world people are angels, I would say. Yeah. But somewhere they are more prone to do things like that. But it's the possible accession of Ukraine to the European Union is based mostly on it observing the rule of law, and we are seeing here that the rule of law is being implemented, despite the fact that perhaps Mr. Zelensky is too close to that, but still he is behaving as good as he can.
Right. Well, we'll have to see how this whole thing kind of drags out, how it progresses. But now I'd like to switch gears a little bit and go on to something that we didn't mention in our introduction, and this is this sabotage that we saw on the rail lines here in Poland. Of course, the engineer of the train noticing something wasn't right and miraculously stopping the train in time.
Well, it was not miraculously. He was warned that there might be something, because a few minutes before he got close to this place where the explosion destroyed one of the rails, there was a high-speed train which flew over this hole with a speed of 150 kilometers per hour. And the engineer of this train noticed something. He didn't know what was that, and he warned the technicians to do something about it, and that's why they want the following train. But can you imagine what would happen if his train derailed?
Yeah, I mean, and this is very alarming because, I mean, how are we going to be able to inspect hundreds, thousands of kilometers of train track on a daily basis to make sure to avoid a catastrophic incident? What if it did turn into a catastrophe? Would there be any implications? Would there be any consequences, say, for Russia?
I don't know. Well, you have to prove first. We know that it is Kremlin which is involved, but in order to take action, you have to prove it.
Which makes these hybrid attacks so successful.
Exactly. Well, they always say, well, not us. And also we have to remember that this railroad is the main link between the West and Ukrainian border, used by the trains with weapons for Ukraine. So it's an obvious connection.
Well, finally, we're going to have to move on from that. I would like to ask you one question about one, maybe two, but we only have 2 minutes left. So about the reopening of the two border crossings between Poland and Belarus, one that was closed in 2021 as a result of the migrants kind of rioting and trying to break through the border there. Another one closed in 2023 due to a court decision over the imprisonment of Andrzej Poczobut. Why now? Why today are we reopening these border crossings? We're told that it's due to economic concerns.
These border crossing closure was used as an element of pressure on President Lukashenko, because in terms of security of the border, it makes no difference whether they're opened or not, because those who are illegally crossing the border are doing it not through the legal crossing, right? So leaving this apart, we can suspect that there are some talks behind the scene between Belarus, the US, and Poland as a third party, and it may be a gesture towards Lukashenko so that he agrees to release more prisoners. There are still about 1,000 political prisoners held under phony accusations, including Andrzej Poczobut, a Polish Belarusian journalist who has just been granted Sakharov Prize by the European Union, and he's being held in solitary confinement.
Well, we do have high hopes for Donald Trump's new special envoy to Belarus, and hopefully we'll see some real concrete developments come out of this gesture of goodwill from Poland's behalf. Michał Broniatowski, TVP World's editor-in-chief, thank you so much for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes this edition of News in Depth. Thank you for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.